Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. Steven here with TB Fork, and this is day 9 of the 80 Days to Your Dream Body course. Today's protein source is going to be elk ribeye steak, and today is going to be a shoulders and arms training workout. And the theme for today's video is exercise frequency. So today, I'm going to be explaining how many days per week you should be training based off of various factors. Now let's get started. And while we're resting, let's move on to the theme of today's video, which is going to be training frequency. With regard to training frequency, there are several factors that we need to consider when determining the optimal training frequency. First is going to be the age of the client. Generally, younger individuals are going to be able to recover faster and they're going to be able to handle more frequent workouts. And if their program is properly structured, they'll even be able to train every single day and there's not going to be any issue as long as there isn't any overlap. Also, recovery time is going to increase with age due to slower muscle repair. The one great thing, though, about older clients is if you ended up training from a very, very young age and you've built up a good amount of muscle and strength, then in order to maintain the muscle and strength that you built, it does not require quite as much effort. Generally, if you train with 1/3 of the volume for 3 months, you can maintain the muscle and strength that you ended up building. Next, the other thing that we need to consider is that older adults are going to be more prone to joint and tendon injuries. So, for older adults, we would want to incorporate a lot more things like joint mobilization exercises and stretching. With regard to stretching, a couple of techniques that I really like are PNF stretching and myofascial stretching, as you may have noticed from these videos that we've been doing. And then the other thing is with regard to older adults, your training frequency really should be emphasizing recovery. You want to be doing a very thorough warm up and a thorough cool down. With regard to warm up, joint mobilizations are going to be great to warm up the body. And then for the cool down, some type of stretching is going to be great just to be able to loosen up all of the muscles. Also, high intensity sessions should decrease with age. You can still train intensely, but you want to be able to minimize the amount of intense training sessions. So if you're going to be training, let's say 3 or 4 days a week as an older individual, if you were previously doing 3 or 4 high intensity training sessions, you may want to do 1 or 2 high intensity training sessions and then 2 or 3 moderate intensity training sessions. The other thing is that strength and flexibility is going to be crucial for aging individuals. If you were to take a look at something like hip fractures, a hip fracture for an elderly person is a death sentence. So you want to be able to build up some good stability and balance in the hips. Also, you want to be able to maintain your fitness level by avoid overtraining. If you are overtraining, what's going to happen is you're going to burn out, you're going to have a lot of issues, and it could just lead to a lot of disaster. That's where you're going to end up. You're going to end up and having poor form. If you have poor form, you're going to be much more likely to end up injuring yourself when you're working out. So you want to avoid overtraining so that you can get all of the benefits without any of the drawbacks. But time is up. Set number 2. And while we're resting, let's discuss another factor that is going to influence your training frequency, and that is going to be somebody's fitness level. Beginners generally require more recovery between sessions. Just think about the very first time that you ever worked out. You were probably sore like crazy if you were training properly. So if you are a beginner, you're not going to need quite as much frequency, and you should focus on mastering form and technique before you start worrying about going to the gym every single day. Also, don't try to be a hero and ego lift. That's going to be one way that you're going to end up injuring yourself. You want to make sure that you are lifting with proper form and really focus on the basics. Get the basics down before you start getting into the advanced stuff. The other thing is with regard to intermediate lifters, they could increase their frequency a little bit more. They could do something like 4 or 5 days a week because they've built up that solid foundation. For an intermediate, something like an upper lower split would be ideal, or even something like a PPL, a push pull legs routine. And if you are an advanced athlete, you could even get into more specialized training splits. A couple of examples, let's say, for example, you are a power lifter. Louis Simmons, he ended up creating the conjugate method, which is for power lifters, and that is a 4-day training week per week. What you would do is you would have 2 max effort days. So Monday would be your max effort squat and deadlift, Wednesday would be your max effort bench, and then Friday would be your dynamic effort squat and deadlift, and Sunday would be your dynamic effort bench. That is going to be terrific for somebody who's a little bit more advanced. The other thing is, if you are somebody who's novice, you really only need to do 2 or 3 full body workouts per week because you're going to get those newbie gains. Most of the gains that you end up making in the gym as a newbie is going to happen within the first year. So most of the muscle you're going to put on, that's going to be in the first year. Also, your fitness level is going to dictate the volume and the intensity of each session. You want to start slow and then build up from there. You don't want to just go 100% right off of the bat. Also, you want to look at what type of body parts you're training and what type of patterns you're going to be using. Your recovery times are going to be shorter if you are more advanced due to your adaptation. So if you are doing individual body parts, then you're going to be able to spread out. You're going to be able to get more training sessions within a week, as opposed to if you are doing a full body training session where you're only going to be able to get 2 or 3 full body workouts in a week. The other thing too is you have to take a look at how sore you're going to be. With regard to DOMS, your delayed onset muscle soreness, that's going to hit newbies a lot more than experienced lifters. So if you are a newbie, you may want to space out your workouts a little bit more because you are going to be experiencing more DOMS. But that's pretty much it for the rest period. On to set number 3. And while we're resting, let's talk about another training factor that is going to dictate how much frequency you should be putting into the gym, and that is going to be your training goal. If you are somebody who's doing something like hypertrophy training, that is going to require higher volume and higher frequency. Volume equals work. The way that you would calculate your volume is you would do the number of reps times the number of sets times the weight that you lifted. So for an individual set, what you would do is your repetitions times the weight that you lifted. That would give you your set volume. And then you would add up all of the set volumes to get your total training volume. If you are strength training, what you want to do is you're going to have a little bit fewer sessions than hypertrophy, because with strength training, you're going at a higher intensity. So the higher the intensity, the less you're going to be able to train. And if you are somebody who is an endurance athlete, you're going to benefit from more frequent training at lower intensities. With regard to lower intensity, you're going to be able to recover a lot faster. And with regard to this as well, you also want to take a look at the actual, with regard to recovery, you want to take a look at things like flexibility goals. If you're doing flexibility, postural correction, anything like that, you could do it every single day and it's not going to be an issue. And in fact, it would benefit you to do it every single day, because accumulating time under tension is going to be the thing that really helps with regard to increasing your flexibility and also improving your posture. The other thing, we have to take a look at what if your goal is power. If your goal is power athletes are going to need more recovery between sets because they're essentially performing explosive movements the entire time. So there's going to be a very, very high level of neurological demand. And each goal is going to demand different rest periods and intensities. Generally, there is going to be a direct relationship between intensity and rest. So the greater the intensity, the greater you're going to need to rest. Also, with regard to training frequency, it should align with your long-term performance objectives. You don't want to just be doing some random workout that you see somebody at the gym doing just because, oh, I like their body, I'm going to do their workout. You don't know how long they've been training for. You don't know if you're able to do the same exercises that they do. So you would want to actually customize it based off of your goals and where exactly you are in your life. The other thing too is you would have to take a look at what type of exercises you guys are performing. Is it compound or isolation? If you are performing compound exercises, those you're going to need a little bit more of a break because it requires more surface area. You're going to be training larger muscle groups. Because you're training larger muscle groups, it's going to take longer to recover, as opposed to doing something like biceps and triceps. Arms, very small muscle groups, so you could get away with a lot more training frequency for the smaller muscle groups. But that is it. Time for set number 4. Thanks for sticking around until the end of the video. Be sure to like, share, and leave a comment, as it'll help the algorithm. And if you enjoyed the content, show your support by subscribing to the channel by clicking on the icon in the bottom right corner. And if you really want to show your support, then consider becoming a member by clicking on the icon in the bottom left corner. These new high-quality videos aren't cheap to edit, and the $5 membership will really help with the video editing budget. You'll also get access to a ton of exclusive perks like early access to videos and this program design lecture playlist in the top right-hand corner. And if you want to learn how to do a one-armed pull-up, then check out the playlist on the top left corner.